Greetings, wellness community, and we're back with another exciting episode of Generational Health. Today, my guest is Faraji, and I'm excited to have you all get to know him as well and see how he's building healthy communities. My motto is healthy people build healthy communities, and that creates generational health. So let's say welcome to Faraji.
Thank you, Lily.
Thank you.
I'm just grateful to be in this space and in front of you in this present moment talking about generational health.
Yes.
Because when I hear it, I automatically think of generational wealth.
Yes.
Right? And in this construct of capitalism, a lot of black bodies are thinking about the next dollar.
Yes.
And it's not through a generational wealthy mind state, it's through a scarcity mind state.
Yes.
And then when we put a play on that and say generational health, and we're talking about individuals that have been steeped in a scarcity mind state, our health is at a critical point of scarcity.
Yes, it is.
And
yes.
so I'm just so grateful that I could take this opportunity to be the student of the present moment and share what comes to me about being wealthy, healthy.
Which creates wealth.
Right.
Which it actually does. It creates wealth. So let's start with your journey. Let's start with who is Faraji? I mean, tell me about yourself and your involvement in the community and what you're doing and how you, again, are involved with this generational health that is so important for us.
I'm thinking about that. Like, who is Faraji? We don't have enough minutes in this segment to give you the totality of my humanity. But specifically, who is Faraji when it comes to health? I'm a trauma-informed yoga instructor.
Okay.
I like to call myself a yoga steward because I'm stewarding the practice. I didn't create it, and I'm not teaching people to steward. So, and I'm a sound bowl and musician. I use sound as healing.
Okay.
So I'm not a therapist, even though I'm in training to be a yoga therapist. A lot of people call it sound therapy, and I just call it sound healing. And I use hand drums, pan drums, tongue drums, rain drums, sound bowls. I have a flute, I have a harmonium. I think that is part of who I am when it comes to health. And I'm also an emergent creative expressionist. It is healthy for me to be able to advocate and speak. And sometimes there's things in me that I don't want in me, and I need a healthy outlet to get them out of my vessel so that I can continue to make room for healthy things inside of me. So I think that would be the third part of who Faraji is when it comes to health and healthy lifestyles.
Well, yoga. When I think of yoga, we've been told that's kind of like out of India and the practice pretty much. And so when I'm going to just be upfront, most of the time I don't think of a black man being a yogi or doing yoga, I would say. So how did you get into it, into this practice?
Yeah, I would say that many aspects of yoga have been colonized and has been put on people's mind other than health for melanated people.
Okay, good point.
India has a lot of melanated people. It's really close to Egypt. And if you ever are privileged, fortunate enough to visit the pyramids, there's yoga shapes on the pyramid.
Wow, okay.
So that's I invite folks that get to watch this to curiously explore in that region, like, well, how far back can I go to yoga? And most people, ask yourself, when you think of yoga, you think of some stretching, skinny people, probably white people, in a studio. And the stretching of yoga is only one limb of the 8 limbs of yoga. So what if you were a tree, Lily, and you were only seen for one of your limbs?
That would be very limiting.
Very
limiting, yes.
And so that's how I got into yoga. It came into my life through all the other limbs besides the stretching first. The first one is to be clean. and to have a commitment to keeping myself clean when I went into prayer, when I went into meditation, when I went into swayaya, a yoga term that means self-study and introspection. And then I started learning about breath work. But my introduction to yoga was Swami Vivekananda's 4 books actually.
Okay.
Just one book has 2 in it. Jnana Yoga, Raja Yoga, Karma, and Bhakti Yoga. And that came at a time in my life when I was not mentally healthy. I was incarcerated,
Okay.
and something had happened to my children while I was gone, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to look.
Were you led spiritually?
The path unfolded. When the student is ready,
The teacher will appear, as they say.
the path will open.
Path will open. Okay.
The teacher will appear. All those things, but that it wasn't per se one teacher at that time.
Okay.
The path came open as I surrendered and said, "Hey, I don't know where to turn, who to pray to, but I need help."
So you discovered yoga when you were incarcerated. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And so you're in an environment, were they supportive of you doing yoga? Was that type of, I mean, you're incarcerated.
It wasn't. So again, wanting to be clear for our viewers,
Okay.
is it wasn't the stretching at first.
Okay, so
It
so
was
walk
the
us through
si-
that
it
then.
was so the books came because there was a couple guys out of 1,000. There's probably 2,000 guys at this prison. The couple guys that had got bestowed some yoga Eastern philosophy literature, and they said, "Hey, the Swami Vivekananda Center sends free books. If we write them, you should write them." And I wrote, and then life happened. And then as life happened, weeks later, they called me to get mail. Mail is a big thing in prison.
Okay,
It feels like you're thought of.
okay.
It feels like somebody took the time to send you something. Their hands touched it.
Okay.
They had to write. And so I went to get, like, oh, I wonder what I got. I could use a dose of love. And it was these books, and Jnana Yoga was there. And Jnana means for the mind.
Okay.
And it was yoga for my mind.
Wow.
To come into union, your mind with your spirit, your mind with your heart, your mind with your breath. And that book helped me start decolonizing a lot of concepts and helping me have a lens to realize oh, you're living out agreements that you didn't even make for yourself.
Let's go back. Give me, well, number one, which I'm glad you're speaking about, because when I think of yoga, I do think of stretching. That's it. And that's like a real small box in the sense of
It's one of your limbs.
it's one of my limbs. That's what we all pretty much think about in general. So you're saying that when that book came to you, and then we had to also, it dealt with your mind with yoga, with your mind. What was that process? Because you're programmed a certain way. We are. All of us. Conditioned a certain way. So you're getting a book now that's saying you're going to have to make a 360 in the sense of your thought process, in a way.
It made me curiously explore that. Like
Okay.
it didn't say, "Hey, this is what you got to do." It just I started reading, and it was unfolding the way it needed to unfold. To say, "Hey, I can't recall what's all in there.
Right.
But what was in there was transformational for my thinking. And it allowed me to have a lens to start looking out at the world and how I mentally operated in the world. And say, is this the results that you want? And especially at what was transpiring with my children. And I had to be accountable to the actions and everything I did I've always been a great father. But all the things that I did to be a great father, and the results was my children weren't safe.
Okay.
And I had to sit in that and reflect on that and be introspective and be honest with myself. And that's swayaya, that's self-study and introspection. I started looking at my thoughts. I started looking at my behaviors and what led to decisions. Even though I was in foster care and addicted parents, and I could say that's all, or these are the reasons I had this bad hand. I was so focused on what I didn't want my children to experience that I experienced, that I manifested exactly what I didn't want them to experience.
Now that's powerful. I mean, that's powerful for parents to hear something like that. I'm so busy trying to make sure that you don't go through the same thing that I've gone through, that I'm now also kind of blocking you as well. You're not flourishing. Because my energy, that energy that I have is kind of, I'm putting it into you, that same energy.
Well, I wasn't necessarily putting it into my children. My children were having, a part of my mind was focused on what I didn't want, that I couldn't manifest what I did want.
Okay, all right.
I didn't have what I did want, look, it was nothing that I've seen in my life. Right. I had to create that. I had to put myself
in your mind,
in my mind, in my experiences. I so focused on what I didn't want, what I did have vividly in my imagination. That energy created a vibration that led to selling drugs, living in motels, incarceration, come back, children still needed incarceration again. That was part of adding energy into what you don't want. They talk about mental health and a lot of stuff, and it's more addressing managing the crisis instead of managing the health. Managing the things that you want to maintain so that you don't even have to have any thoughts about the crises.
Because you're in survival. You're going to stay in survival and you're not going to go thriving.
You're right.
There's no thriving.
There's no thriving.
You're just going to be
You're in a
survival.
state of scarcity.
Yeah.
You're in a state of fear.
Yeah.
You're in a state of anticipation and trepidation.
Yeah. Yeah, you would be.
And the mind, and then what comes out of the mouth and what you feel in your body, that's the 3-part recipe of manifestation for me. Is you're thinking it, and you feel it. First, you start feeling it. Conjure up the feelings, and then whatever the thoughts don't come, and then you're like, oh, I feel a way. There was a feeling, and you may not connect it that it created this thought.
Right.
Your feeling must match the thought, must match the words, and it's going to start happening. We can't go with the flow of what we've been born into, because the flow has actually been low vibration. Fear, scarcity. Low. So we have to choose to be optimists and rise, and it's a job to go against what the flow. If you just say I'm neutral, your neutrality is going to push you to the flow of not being well, not having a thriving mind state, not having an optimistic outlook on any opportunities that are on the pavement. Because the pessimists and the optimists are both right, Lily.
But people say, okay, here's what people say. You don't know, like you were saying, you don't know what I've gone through. I mean, I've gone through so much in life, and I have a right to feel this anger. I have a right to feel like I'm a victim. I have a right. I'm accepting. I have this right. I have this entitlement.
You have a choice.
I have an entitlement to be whatever. And so we're stuck. We don't want to be there. We're kind of like, we don't want to be in that, but then at the same time, I have a right to be there. So I want to stay in that pity party sometimes.
And that's where I was at.
Okay.
And so that Jnana Yoga and saying all the reasons, like if my parents would have just not been addicted, if I didn't go get abused in foster care, if I didn't get starved in foster care, if I didn't go to another family member where I suffered more abuse, I would have a different life. Like, no, what's my present moment? My present moment is I'm here. Something led here, something has had my thoughts and geared, and that's what Jnana Yoga addressed. It addressed the mind. It addressed concepts. It addressed faulty agreements that were passed down to you generations that you never got the free choice to make. Okay. And so why not be a free thinker? And then the next book was Raja Yoga. Okay. And it helped me meditate, and it helped me do breath work. And so if you're breathing, you're doing yoga.
Okay.
Especially if you're breathing intentionally. You're doing yoga. If you sit a couple of moments in silence and still, you're doing yoga. So when people say, oh, I don't do yoga, and I don't, well, when you expand your definition of what yoga is, you'll know that you are a yogi. You're looking to union yourself back with your one being. It has many parts, but there's some oneness in there. So I started doing that, and I started having really big experiences where I could astral project out of my body, that I could like hold an exhale for a long time, and I was going to lean into escapism in prison. I was just going to kind of be always in the meditative trance.
I do it that way.
And I was like, that's not it. And then so I read the next book. Karma Yoga told me that karma's not a bad thing. Karma is just the fruits of the actions that you make.
Right.
And it said if you do everything for source and know that source is doing it through you, then you're not going to get no karma. You're not, when they praise you to the heavens, you give it to source, and you don't go around pompous. And when they criticize you to, right? Well, the change, that the paradigm that we're looking for in community, it ain't been seen by anybody that's alive and breathing on this planet right now. So it's gonna look totally different, and they may say, you're a radical, you're crazy, you're this, and it is. What did they say about Jesus? What did they say about God? Like, so I understood the practice of non-doership, and that's when it comes to seva, another yoga principle, which means selfless service.
Okay.
Let me show up as in service, and don't put any doership inside of it, knowing that source is doing this through me. And I'm open enough to receive that and do it, and say, whatever comes out of it, I'm not attached.
But in this country, it's a quote unquote Christian, country, supposedly Christian. So now you're saying that you can do something outside of God. You're saying that you basically, you have the ability to manifest or to change your mind, and yet we're taught we are to pray and wait for God to bestow upon us, to say, okay, you get the green light, you can go and do
That's
this.
tricknology. I don't
Okay.
receive that knowledge
Okay.
because outside of God, God is within me. That's
Okay.
what my guru, that's what the teacher said. The God that you are looking for is inside of you, bowing to you as you.
But that's a lot for people to
That's a
digest.
lot. But Jesus said, hey, the
Okay.
kingdom of heaven is within.
Yes.
So, so if anybody would come to me and say, you're telling us that you're doing something outside of God,
Yeah.
and God's within me, how am I doing it outside of God? Right? That would be my comeback. So the last book that was my panacea, the cure-all, was Bhakti Yoga.
Okay.
Bhakti. Bhakti, devotional love. It said, it had me curiously explore the childhood question: if you had one wish, what would you wish for? And
Can you share? Yeah.
I sat in that for over 2 hours trying to come with the answer. And we all know that you can't ask for 10,000 more wishes because that voids your one wish. You get one. One. And I arrived at, I wish and I claim that everything in the universe experiences simultaneously, consistently, continuously the presence of unconditional love.
Wow.
That's my one wish. That's it. Because and then as you tell, I'm a student of the present moment. I shared that at the beginning. I'm realizing when I have space with folks doing yoga, doing mindfulness practices, when I'm with the kids at a high school, just giving them who I am, I always come back to one. 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 time, and I'll call every person in the room. 1 times 1 times 1 equals what? One.
Yeah.
We're not adding, we're multiplying. And then how do you come to one breath? We don't have to count to 5, we don't have to count to 10, just keep counting to 1. And if oneness is love, right? I went to Jamaica, they were saying one love.
Yes.
One love. If oneness is all this and all this is oneness, then when one gets baked, held, refined in love, unconditional, it might have boundaries. Yeah, you need boundaries. Sometimes I need distance, but my love doesn't change. And I started seeing people and just silently saying, I love you. I love you. And guess who? And guess what was even easier? Was seeing myself in that person. Choosing to be in a whole circle of people, 50 people, and keep looking and saying, I love you, Faraji. I love you, Faraji. It helped me to be able to move at a vibration of love. Because equally is one. Love one all. Love one all. All love one. Like it all is.
Okay.
So that was my beginning of yoga. And then an organization called Yoga Behind Bars came in.
Okay. Love to hear more about that as well.
And they were offering a training, which I didn't get to take at that time. But I heard yoga behind bars. And now with being bask in the Shakti and the Bhakti of yoga, having a teacher that was a woman, but her guru blessed me from the ethers, I was curious. I said, oh, they got yoga in the gym? What? Yoga what? Let me go. And the teachers and stewards that came in for that program brought in trauma-informed yoga. And it honored my humanity by the first principle that it was invitational, that I didn't have to do anything. Even though they themed it as a class, and you know, when you get in class, you got to do, you got to participate.
Yeah.
That wasn't it.
You just come and sit?
You could come and sit if you want.
Okay.
You can come and go to sleep if you want. You're invited to do reach up and breathe and exhale and come back down.
So no expectations, just come.
No obligations.
No obligations, just come.
And they gave you agency and autonomy. And being in a prison, you don't get that. You're a DOC number. You can't give a soup. You can't step past that line. You can't do this and that and the third. And in that space, within that prison, the space they created, we could have autonomy and agency. And so I laid on my back, and I heard the rules, or heard the shapes, and I just was doing my practice. And then when I got up and I was ready to move, I got right in the flow, and then I wanted to do something different, and I did something different, and it was never frowned upon. And so I kept coming back, and I started learning more shapes, and my body started feeling better, and my low back that was hurting from sleeping on a metal bunk and lifting weights for however many years, it started alchemizing. And all the other practices of yoga that I had cultivated before then, it was synergistic. And I still would go back and journal and do swayaya. And I still would do pranayama and do breath work and hold my breath and do different movements. But now it was all, and I literally felt the psychological knot on my heart undo itself. It was visceral.
You know what, and just listening to everything you're saying, the word freedom comes back in. Freedom. And you, in the system you were in, you were able to free yourself and have freedom over your mind and your body, which is because even those who are not in that system, we're still incarcerated in a way where our minds are being controlled and our bodies are being controlled, and yet you went into a system where it's definitely about control. And you said, I'm going to gain, something came spiritually to you and said, you know what, you're going to get this freedom here. You didn't get it there outside, but once in here, you're going to gain this freedom.
I read that in a book once that said, like, the young student was asking the sage, like, I want to, like, teach me how to meditate. I want to be at peace. I want to go somewhere, like, where's the mountains? And the sage said, it's within you. Like, once you go inside and find it, it don't matter where you go, there'll be world peace. Right? And when you're like, for you to pull out what you just said about me finding freedom, one of the last practices that helped me manifest coming home earlier than what the system said I would was drawing a triangle. And for artists, they said you could draw it even more elaborately. But I drew a triangle, and at the top it said Shaktipat. I was asking to get spiritual awakening through the lineage and the practices that I am devoted to.
Okay.
The next thing I said was love. And then the last thing was freedom. And being an incarcerated individual, you would think 99% of people would put freedom as the first thing.
Yes.
But I knew that if I didn't have these two things,
okay.
that freedom, like you said, there's people out here that are incarcerated.
Yes.
By the construct of white supremacy and capitalism. So when you said what you said, my last, and I didn't know they were going to be my last 3 years. I still was doing time towards a new law ended up coming out.
Wow.
And then I got in front of the court. But at the time that I made or felt free inside a prison, it was probably 3 years before I came home, and I still had 3 years to do after that. I was free. I was seeing love. I was seeing peace. I was greeting peace. People, all the Muslims, the Christians, the pagans, everybody said, "Hey, can you come to our thing?" They wanted the light that they felt. Because I was joyful. I was peaceful. I was just flowing. I was a being of light, being light, while beaming light. And I was well. And I was purposeful in all the things that I were doing, even if they were limited to the confines of the prison. They were cosmics in the confines of my mind.
Wow. Wow. You know, I guess I want to say to the wellness community that what Faraji just said is so powerful. I was well. And an environment where we don't think of wellness at all. I don't. I mean, the food is not the greatest. I mean, you're not getting a lot of air. You're being confined in ways. I mean, exercise is limited and all of that. And yet at the same time, he's saying that he was well, which is very, very powerful in general. And so for all of us who are saying our own limitations, I got this, I can't do that, I can't do that. And someone who's saying I was incarcerated and yet I was still well. And that's powerful energy. That's a powerful person. And a lot of us don't reach that level, I can tell you that. So you've gone far beyond a whole lot of people.
Well, a powerful body, a peaceful, a relaxed body is a powerful body.
Okay.
A relaxed body, a calm nervous system and so when people ask me to this day, because my brother is still incarcerated, biological brother, and many of my systemic siblings are still incarcerated.
Wow.
And they ask me, people in community say, how is blah, blah, blah? How is your brother? How is this person? I have to tell them that they could be 1 minute away from a mental health crisis, because a lot of my systemic siblings do not have a practice. And yes, yoga behind bars still goes in once or twice a week to some prisons and some juvenile facilities. We're not in all of them. We don't have that support. We need that support. We need yoga in everywhere so that people can open their minds up for the other 7 limbs. Remember, my story was a reverse story. It didn't start with the stretching.
Right.
That's what saved me. That's what refined my lenses that I looked through. I was looking at the world through a white male's lens because I went to American public school system.
Define, I'm asking you, and I know as a black woman, and we can speak, but define for you as a black man, what was for you a white man's lens? What would you kind of say?
When the awakening came, I was already a yogi at the time. When the awakening came, I was watching Antique Roadshow. And they were valuing this Coca-Cola American-made can that was dented up and all, and they gave it such a big value. And then they showed something else, and I thought it was pretty cool, and they didn't have a big, and I said, who's metric? I said, what if there was an African drum that they couldn't even really date? What would they say it was worth? Then I started thinking about the public fool system that I had no options but to go to. And then I have teachers coming in telling us, hey, they don't teach all this. They don't teach, like, when it's a multiple choice, you go find the answers that are incorrect first. You could take 2 of those off, and now you got a 50% chance of getting it right. They teach this in private school, right? And then I learned the word eso and exoteric. The difference is that there's knowledge for the masses and there's knowledge for the select few.
Wow. Okay.
And then I go do my history and realize, oh, the first universities, academies, and stuff was for white male landowners. And they built every school system, they built every time test off of that foundation.
And it still exists to this day.
And it still exists to this day. And that's why you have the preschool to prison pipeline, because they studied it. They studied it when they said, oh, wait, we can't legally enslave black folks no more. Well, if we give them this exoteric knowledge for the they're only going to be worker bees, they're going to have this mind state, and then we can judge the rates of graduates by how many prisons we need to put in a state. Y'all wellness viewers, go look. I could be lying to you. Go, if something inspires, triggers, no, that's not true, whatever it does, go look, go find it. Because what they want us to do is say that we were indentured servants and all this stuff. They want to erase it. And we must face it in order to replace it. And erase it. We have to erase the system. I was just with the kids yesterday, Lily, and I tell them, hey, it's on y'all to speak up. Don't time out my brilliance. Don't put my standards of excellence in a measurement of a white male landowner. If people can't admit that this is what this country was built, stolen for, and that the systems that are in place have the foundation of that, has the soil of that, we're going to keep producing fruit that's spoiled.
The same thing.
Same thing, and expecting difference. Oh, no. That's not well. We're not well as a collective on this planet.
No.
We're not well in the mind.
No.
And if you're not well in the mind, the body can't even follow, because the body's going to follow the mind.
Right. And building the healthy communities, and we talk about healthy people build healthy communities, we're going to get the same results. We'll get like maybe a little bit of something.
A little bit, but in the overall, we replicate the system.
The same thing. We'll go back into the same cycle that we came out of, thinking that we've accomplished something. And we'll definitely do that. So we're going to, the other thing is, and just in general, you were talking about you work with youth and involved, and you sent me a writing the other night of two students of yours, which I thought was just amazing. Their response to the class. I think you, was it the class or just freestyle?
It was just me showing up as a human.
Freestyle. So tell me some of the things that you're doing with the youth in this community, since you're definitely wanting us to break some of these chains that have been put up on us.
I think my bigger hope, and that was a guest appearance for me to go to that school, and I'm looking to get into that school more now that the inspiration that I got from being in there 2 days, but more of my purpose work is with youth that are incarcerated.
Okay.
And I do go in there and do yoga with them, and it's trauma informed, so they don't have to do it. And at first they weren't doing it. But the more I kept showing up and just being cool, here, we'll shoot some hoops. Here, I got this dice game I want to show you. I have other programs by other facilitators and myself, the rapping program, the poetry program, the healthy relationships, the creative writing, right? Here, now they're getting doses, and now they get connector neurons. They feel, oh, we're connected. I done seen them more than, and it's usually about 3 to 6 times that a child needs to see you. A child that has been abandoned, rejected, criminalized, minimalized, all those things. They don't know. They're even gonna show out and see if you come back the next week.
So you said, okay, let's just back up there. You said at least you need to interact with them at least 6 times for you.
3 to 6
3
times.
to 6 times.
Some are different. Some will feel an affinity towards you, and they don't take it. But in general, about 3 to 6 times where they're like, and they're gonna show their hind parts. They're gonna act out a time or 2. You might get one that wants to act out 4 times, just waiting to see you like don't come back. Right? But then once, whatever metrics it takes for their unique individuality, once they see it, and then you'll see the lean in, the brilliance, the wanting to collaborate, connect, wanting to talk to you, wanting to share their vulnerabilities, right? It takes to be in authentic relationship. But children have been harmed so many steps of the way, have been silenced so many steps of the way, that we don't know what the specific number is, but generally 3 to 6
times.
And then you know, now they're doing yoga. There's the shapes that they don't do. They don't do down dog. Okay. They don't do bend and touch their toes. They like, right, there's still something, they're locked up. Okay. It's not safe in their mind. It's not safe for them to have their hind parts in the air.
Okay.
So we do everything else. And I say, y'all want to hoop now? And they go hoop. And they know it like, hey, here we have choice with Faraji. So and he's pretty cool. Wow. He's black. He been to school. He can rap. He's pretty. He comes in swaggy. So there's a lot of things that represent them that they see in me.
And you meet them where they're at, which a lot of times in our system, the curriculum, the education system, we don't meet students, children where they're at. You have to come into our program, go along with our program, fit into our program, and whatever else is going on with you emotionally, that has to be put on the back burner, and you have to just kind of fall in line at some point. And when you don't, like you said, is what school to
prison pipeline, right?
So
and when you do fall in line and master that, you become an adult that disassociates.
Oh.
Because I couldn't deal with my emotional and my mental. I had to be on this. You're not even teaching me how to think. You're teaching me what to think.
But isn't that what we call, and I'm just going to say, and correct, isn't that what we call being logical?
Being logical, to put all the other stuff to
well,
the side.
That's what they use. I hear people say I'm a logical person. Yeah,
there's a time for it. There's a balance for it. Like I'm a logical. When I get some of my trauma response, I get very logical.
Okay.
And very don't get to playing no games.
Okay.
And I think there's a balance, and we're not fostering that in our young boys, really. Like this facility that I'm talking about, there's only 3 to 5 girls ever in there.
Okay.
But there's 50 to 78 boys in there.
Wow.
Right? And then the percentage of those boys that are black, right? Because you're already seen older, you're already put in all these boxes, you got IEPs and all this shit at school.
Yeah.
And it doesn't serve who they are. And then if you look at how much sugar is in a glass of orange juice, how much sugar that's in a teaspoon of maple syrup, how much sugar is in the waffles, how much sugar is in and then you're sending kids, young black boys to school with 300 grams of sugar in them.
300 grams is like a coma, but they'd be like comatose for 300. Yes, but you're correct. You're correct.
Well,
we're feeding them. We're feeding them, and
biological warfare, and then telling them to sit down instead of go exert all that energy. Come back. Let's take a nap, play the sound bowls, reset you. We'll have you wake up and eat an apple.
Yeah.
And now let's get to learning.
So they really don't ever get to be a child. They don't.
Right.
They skip that child part and stuff. They skip being a child, and so they have to move beyond and go into kind of being like the adult. The crazy adults that we can be, they have to step in line and go along with those programs, that our programming basically. So.
And then you wake up and realize that, these thoughts and concepts aren't even my own.
Yeah, most of the time they're not. No. Most of the time they're not. They really aren't. We just. Yeah, and if you are a little bit different, then you're outside what I call, I guess the word is a tribe. You step outside the tribe, and then you're kind of like, the crazy one.
You step outside the franchise, because there's a word called disenfranchisement, right? Yeah. They disenfranchise our communities, but we never wanted to be part of their franchises anyway. Right. We wanted our tribes. Right. We wanted to use rhythm and rhyme to calculate numbers, right? Music is numbers.
Right.
But they colonized, boxed it up, made it, and if you fit in this box, you're going to excel.
Yeah.
By whose metric?
Yeah.
White, male, landowner.
And we're programmed to follow authority, big time. And
unless you've been harmed by authority, and then you be like me, a young foster care kid, a young going to juvenile in prison. I built a disdain for authority.
And so then you just rebel, or
I rebel. I push back. Even now, I still push back because I realize the authoritarianism is from white supremacy. And we will mimic some of the most brutal. It doesn't take a white person to enact white body supremacy, especially when your brain's been colonized.
Okay.
I've personally experienced it from black folks.
Really?
And they don't know they're doing it. Internalized
like
racial oppression. Gatekeeping, that's one symptom. Surveillance and documenting all the negative stuff on you is another thing. Like, and because these are tools of white supremacy and we've been schooled by white supremacy, we don't see the separation. Shout out to Dr. Joy Hardiman. We've been born in falsehood. That means it was always true, but that don't mean it was truth. If you were born into something that was false, but you were born into it, it's always been that way, so you don't know.
That's all I know. Yeah, that's all I know.
So it's always been true.
Right.
But that don't mean it was truth. And so when I'm pushing back from these authoritarian type disciplines and views and lenses, and people say, oh, he's confrontational. No, I'm only confrontational against the construct that's white supremacy. And it doesn't take a white person to do it. There's black people, brown people, all type of people, because this is what we've been born into. And to look at us ourselves, and even with it, when you say, for me, I'm talking about building healthy communities, that makes some people uncomfortable. When you say, I want healthy communities, like, ooh, that's because they haven't had it. So, and if it's done by someone else who presents it, then they can say, oh, I can go with that, I can rock with that. But if it's Lily, if someone coming, or you, and you know what, we're going to build healthy communities. People are like, what? What do you know about healthy communities and stuff like that? How do you, who are you? Who do you, all that starts, that pushback comes in, and you have to be, like you said, strong in yourself, or someone who's gone through some programming. And always with programming, looking at our programming, we always doing that. But yeah, it's a whole process. And there's a woman, I can't think of it, Dr. Francis, I can't think of her last name. I know it's not Creslow, I got the wrong. But anyway, she talks about, until we actually look at white supremacy, you're not actually looking at your life. You're not looking at life in a full, how to put it, you're not looking at life in itself. You're kind of living life, but you're not looking at life in the full picture of life. The spectrum.
The spectrum, thank you. The spectrum of life. You're not seeing the full spectrum of life. You're just, you're looking at like a little small piece of it.
Right.
And then when you address that, not that you have to, they'll go pinpoint every little thing along the way, but then your eyes open up and go, oh.
Be aware.
Yeah, I'm aware this is happening, that's happening. And then how do I address that?
And not be an agent of harm.
Yeah, and then, so I'm going along with the program because that's all I know and that's all I've done and along the way. Or so-and-so did it, so I'm doing it, so-and-so's doing it, and that's the way, that's the way it happens. And we just continue that flow, like you said, along the way. So, but I think in general, I'm happy with this conversation. I'm happy that we're being authentic and talking about it, because a lot of times people are even afraid to even come out and speak like you're doing, to speak this way or to be authentic and say, because we've been taught, oh, no, you don't say too much, don't be too brilliant, don't shine too much, don't do whatever. Kind of do your thing, but kind of do it in a real low-key way. Never let your light shine too much, because, I'm from down south. You're taught, one of the things is you never have too many material things over what the white culture has. If you can't look like you're bigger, better, whatever that word means, those two words means, but you have to be always low-key and move in a way that you're getting things, but you're not, you don't want to shine too much. You don't want to be too brilliant. You don't want to be too brilliant, I guess. That's the whole thing. You don't want to be too brilliant. That's the whole thing.
I ask you, what do you say to that now?
Oh, I think let your light shine. I think be as brilliant as possible. I mean, we're here to be that. We're powerful individuals. And so for me to suppress myself to make someone else or a system feel like more comfortable, or to continue to expand, I wouldn't even consider that. But again, you get feedback, pushback, criticism for doing that. And so you have to continue to,
keep pushing
and stuff. So tell people, the wellness audience, how can people get a hold of you? Things, because you have a lot of things going on. You're doing a lot of things in the community. You're doing amazing things. You've been able to regain, your mind, your body, which is so powerful. You freed yourself, and you did that by also loving yourself. Learning to love yourself. So those are two powerful things. So the love part. So tell the audience what you're doing and how they can get in contact with you.
Hey audience, again, my name is Faraji Bhakti, and if you remember, Bhakti means devotional love. You can find me on social media under YIFE, Y-I-F-E, Life, L-Y-F-E. That's the best way you can find me. I regained my internal compass. I have a retreat every August at Brighton Bush Hot Springs, so you can go on that website and find me. Excuse me, I need more water. But yes, find me on social media or at Evergreen State College on Saturdays. I teach free trauma-informed yoga. There's sound bowls, there's rain drums, there's all the things. That's Saturdays, 10:30 to noon in Tacoma, Washington at the Evergreen State College.
And he also does personal sessions, the sound bowls. I had a personal session with him. Amazing. So I also encourage you to get a hold of him to have a personal session as well. So
Thank y'all.
thank you all for coming today and listening and taking the time. And I encourage everyone to share this podcast with other individuals so that we can expand our community. And again, healthy people build healthy communities. You can go into my description box. I will have the books, if they're still available, that Faraji spoke about. We'll write those books, the names of the books, and have that you can click onto and find out more about that. We'll have his information also in the description box so that you can contact him as well. And then, of course, you can always contact me. My email address is innervisionwellness22@gmail.com. innervisionwellness22@gmail.com for any additional questions. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your time.